The council chamber fell silent as Commander Vreshka slammed his three-fingered hand against the marble table. His scales, normally a calm shade of blue, had shifted to an aggressive purple that made the junior officers lean back in their seats. "A human," he spat, his voice dripping with contempt. "You are telling me that we lost 17 fighters, 2 cruisers, and an entire forward base to a single human?" Female. Ambassador Trell, the only one brave enough or stupid enough to speak, cleared his throat. "Yes, Commander. According to the recovered data, I do not care about your data." Vreshka's tail whipped against the floor. "Humans are weak, fragile. They break if you so much as sneeze in their direction. Their bones are made of calcium. For the love of the ancients." "Calcium? The same material we use to make children's toys." The holographic display flickered to life, showing grainy footage from what appeared to be a classroom. A young human female sat in the back row, her dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail, her eyes half closed as if she were about to fall asleep. "This," Trell said carefully, "is Lieutenant Riley Voss. Age 23. Currently enrolled in the Intergalactic Military Academy, Class 794. Vreshka leaned forward, his predatory eyes narrowing. "She looks like she can barely hold her own head up." "That's what we thought too, Commander." Trell pressed a button and the image shifted to show Riley hunched over a desk, doodling in a notebook while Professor Mekthar droned on about tactical formations. Her grades were mediocre. Average combat scores. She failed the advanced weapons test twice. She spent most of her time in class either sleeping or drawing strange earth creatures in her notes. "Then how?" "Just watch, sir." The footage jumped forward, now showing a different scene entirely. A battlefield. Smoke and fire everywhere. The timestamp indicated it was from 3 cycles ago during the Krovan offensive on Theta 9. Riley stood in the center of a crater, her standard-issue armor scorched and dented. Blood, human blood, dripped from a gash on her forehead. She was grinning. "Oh, this is going to be good," she said, her voice coming through the recovered comlink with crystal clarity. Around her, 17 Krovan shock troops materialized from their cloaking fields, each one twice her size, each one armed with plasma rifles that could turn a tank into molten slag. The lead Krovan, a massive warrior with battle scars covering his chitinous armor, clicked his mandibles in what might have been laughter. "Little human, surrender now, and we will make your death quick." Riley wiped the blood from her face, still smiling. "You know what's funny? Everyone always says that. Surrender, and we'll make it quick. Like that's supposed to be comforting." She stretched her arms above her head, and several of her joints made disturbing popping sounds. "Has that line ever actually worked?" "Your weapon is destroyed," the Krovan warrior pointed out. Indeed, Riley's rifle lay in pieces several meters away. "Oh, right. My weapon?" "Yeah, about that." Riley cracked her knuckles, and the sound echoed across the battlefield like small explosions. "See, here's the thing. I've been pretending to be bad at this. Like really bad. Do you know how hard it is to deliberately fail a weapons test? Do you know how many times I had to stop myself from just, doing what comes naturally?" The Krovan warriors exchanged glances, their confidence wavering slightly. In the council chamber, Vreshka leaned forward. "What is she talking about?" "Keep watching, sir." Back on the battlefield, the lead Krovan warrior raised his rifle. "Enough talk. Kill her." 17 plasma rifles charged up, their high-pitched whine building to a crescendo. Riley didn't move. She just stood there, still smiling, as if she were waiting for a bus rather than facing certain death. The Krovans fired. What happened next made every being in the council chamber sit up straight, their various appendages frozen in shock. Riley moved. But moved wasn't really the right word. She flickered like a bad hologram, appearing 5 meters to the left just as the plasma bolts converged on the space where she'd been standing. The ground exploded in a shower of molten rock and dirt. "Missed," Riley called out cheerfully. "Want to try again?" The Korvax spun, firing again. This time Riley went low, dropping into a slide that carried her between 2 warriors. As she passed, she reached up and tapped each one on the ankle, so gently it seemed like a joke. Both warriors collapsed, their legs shattering like glass beneath them. Their screams were cut short, as Riley rolled to her feet and delivered precise strikes to their throats, crushing their vocal cords. 2 down, she counted, dusting off her hands. 15 to go. This is actually kind of therapeutic, you know. All that time pretending to be incompetent really builds up tension. The remaining Krovens opened fire, but Riley was already gone, moving so fast the cameras could barely track her. She appeared behind one warrior, grabbed his head and twisted. The crack was audible even through the static of the recording. 3. She caught an incoming plasma bolt with her bare hand, the energy dissipating against her palm in a shower of sparks. The Kroven who fired it stared in disbelief. Riley threw the residual energy back at him like a baseball, and it punched through his armor with a wet thunk. 4. In the council chamber, Ambassador Trell paused the footage. Vreshka's scales had gone from purple to a pale, sickly white. How? The commander whispered. How is this possible? Humans are fragile. Everyone knows this. They die from falls, from diseases, from emotional distress. For the ancients' sake. We thought so too, sir. Trell brought up another file, this one showing medical readouts. After this incident, we started looking into Lieutenant Voss's background more carefully. Turns out she's not exactly typical. No human is capable of this. Vreshka insisted. That's where you're wrong, Commander. Riley Voss is from Earth, specifically from a region called, well, the translator has trouble with it, but the closest approximation is rural Montana. She grew up in what humans call the middle of nowhere. Trell pulled up images of a small human dwelling surrounded by vast expanses of wilderness. Her family raised livestock. She spent her childhood wrestling cattle to the ground for medical treatment, hauling 100-pound feed bags, and fighting off predators that tried to eat said livestock. By the age of 12, she could bench press twice her body weight. By 16, she'd survived 3 encounters with creatures called grizzly bears, which are essentially biological tanks with claws, but her scores at the academy were deliberately suppressed, sir. We interviewed her roommate, a Venturi named Kessa Poor. According to Kessa, Riley spent her free time in the maximum gravity training room, the one set to 3 times Earth normal that we use to punish cadets who break curfew. She'd do her homework in there, for fun. Vreshka slumped in his chair. Resume the footage. The hologram flickered back to life. Riley had dispatched 8 Krovens now, and the remaining 9 were backing away, their weapons shaking in their grips. Please, one of them begged. We surrender. Riley paused, tilting her head. Oh, now you want to surrender? That's adorable. Really, it is. But see, you guys made a mistake. Her smile vanished, replaced by something cold and terrible. You killed my squad, Private Torres, Specialist, Namakar, Sergeant O'Brien. Good people. My people. She started walking toward them, slow and deliberate. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to fight, or you're going to run. But either way, you're not leaving this crater. Because I made them a promise. What promise? The Kroven warrior's voice cracked. Riley's grin returned, sharp as a blade. That I'd send you all to whatever hell your people believe in. And I keep my promises. What followed was less a battle and more a demonstration of controlled violence. Riley didn't just defeat the Krovens. She dismantled them, using their own weapons against them, turning their tactics into their downfall. At one point she caught a thrown plasma grenade mid-air, tossed it straight up, kicked a Kroven into the air to meet it, and used the explosion as cover to close on 2 others. 9, 10, 11, she counted, her voice never losing that cheerful, almost conversational tone. You know, my instructors always told me I should show more effort in class. Riley, you're not applying yourself. Riley, you could be great if you just tried. Well, guess what, Professor Yisk? I was trying not to break my sparring partners. Trying not to make everyone uncomfortable. Trying to fit in. She grabbed the last Kroven by his armor and lifted him off the ground with one hand. But you guys just had to go and kill my friends, had to remind me why I actually joined this stupid war in the first place. The Kroven struggled weakly. What? What are you? Riley's expression softened. Just a little. I'm human. That's all. Just human. And you made the mistake that everyone makes. You thought that meant weak. She dropped him, and before he could raise his weapon, her fist crashed into his chest plate hard enough to create a visible dent. He crumpled. 17, Riley said quietly. Then she sat down hard on a rock, her shoulders sagging. The adrenaline seemed to drain out of her all at once, and her hands started shaking. Croas, I kept my promise. I hope you're up there laughing at me for finally blowing my cover. The footage ended. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Finally, Rechka spoke, his voice hoarse. How many other humans are like her? Trell pulled up a star chart showing Earth and its surrounding systems. That's the question, isn't it, Commander? We've been operating under the assumption that humans were a weak species, that got lucky, that stumbled into space travel through trial and error. But what if we were wrong? What if Riley Voss isn't an anomaly? What if she's just average, by their standards? That's impossible. If they were all this strong, then why haven't they conquered the galaxy already? Trell finished. We've been asking ourselves the same question. The answer, according to our intelligence, is both reassuring and terrifying. He brought up footage from a human entertainment program, showing two humans engaged in what they called professional wrestling, throwing each other around with casual ease. Then images of human athletes, soldiers, construction workers, all performing feats that would require mechanical assistance for most species. Humans don't think they're strong, Trell said. They think they're normal. On their world, they're apex predators, but they're also prey. They evolved in an environment so hostile that nearly everything was trying to kill them. Diseases, predators, weather, other humans. Even some of their plants are toxic. They develop brains that constantly run threat assessments, bodies that can ignore pain through sheer willpower, and a psychological quirk they call stubbornness that makes them keep going long after any rational being would quit. Vreshka stared at the frozen image of Riley sitting on that rock, looking small and tired and utterly human. And Voss was hiding this. Why? That's what we asked her, sir. After the battle, when she was debriefed, Trell pulled up an audio file. Would you like to hear her explanation? Play it. A new voice filled the chamber, young and female, with an accent that the translator rendered as casual disrespect for authority. Look, I didn't want to be that person. You know? The one everyone's scared of. The one who can't have friends because everyone's too busy wondering if you're going to accidentally crush their windpipe during a handshake. I've been strong my whole life. Do you know what it's like being the kid who always has to hold back? Who can't play sports because you might hurt someone? Who has to pretend to struggle with things that are easy? There was a pause. The sound of liquid being poured. Coffee. According to the file notes, I joined the academy because I thought maybe in space, with all these different species, I could just be normal, average, just another soldier. But then Torres died, and Niemkire and O'Brien, and I realized something. Being normal, being average, being the quiet kid in the back of the class who doesn't make waves. That doesn't save anyone. That doesn't bring people home. Another pause. So yeah, I've been hiding what I can do, and I'll probably go back to hiding it. Because honestly, the way everyone looks at me now, like I'm some kind of monster. That's exactly what I was trying to avoid. But if there's another situation like Theta 9, if more of my people are in danger, then screw hiding, screw fitting in. I'll do whatever it takes. The recording ended. Vreshka sat back, his mind racing. How many humans are enrolled in the academy currently? 2,347. And how many of them are like Voss, hiding their true capabilities? Trell's expression was grim. We don't know, Commander. That's the problem. After this incident, we started reviewing footage more carefully. Want to know what we found? He didn't wait for an answer, instead pulling up a compilation of clips. A human named Marcus easily carrying equipment that required 2 Vrelians to lift. A human named Yuki running a training course in full combat gear without breaking a sweat, then deliberately tripping near the finish line to avoid setting a record. A human named Dave casually bending a steel bar back into shape with his bare hands, then looking around nervously to see if anyone noticed. They're all hiding it, Trell said. Maybe not to Voss's extent, but they're all holding back. Do you know what the humans call this? They have a phrase, don't want to show off. It's considered rude in their culture to display superior ability unless absolutely necessary. Vreshka felt something he hadn't experienced in his 30 years of military service. Fear. Real, genuine fear. The war, he said slowly. The Kruvan offensive. How many humans were deployed? 50,000, give or take. They make up about 3% of the total coalition forces. And their casualty rate? Trell pulled up the statistics. 0.002%, Commander? In a war that's killed millions across dozens of species, humanity has lost exactly 97 soldiers, and 50 of those were from a ship malfunction, not combat. The commander stood, his legs feeling weak. Get me a direct line to high command. Now, sir, what are you going to tell them? Vreshka looked at the frozen image of Riley Voss, that exhausted, blood-covered young human who'd just dispatched 17 elite warriors with her bare hands while cracking jokes. The truth, that we've been operating under a dangerous assumption, that humanity isn't weak, they've just been polite. He turned to face the assembled officers, all of whom looked as shaken as he felt. And I'm going to recommend we do everything in our power to make sure they stay on our side. Because if this is what one polite human can do when she gets angry, he gestured at the battlefield footage, I don't want to see what happens when they all stop holding back. Ambassador Trell nodded slowly. There's one more thing, Commander. We received a message from Earth's government. They're sending a formal delegation to discuss the incident and Lieutenant Voss's future with the Academy. When do they arrive? They're already here, sir. Waiting in conference room 7. They've been quite patient, actually. Very polite. Vreshka's scales went pale again. How long have they been waiting? 3 hours, sir. 3 hours? And they haven't complained? Haven't demanded to see me immediately? No, sir. The delegation leader, a human named General Park, said, and I quote, Take your time, we'll just sit here and enjoy the coffee. No rush. The commander and the ambassador locked eyes, both thinking the same thing. Politeness. Patience. These weren't signs of weakness. They were the behavior of someone who knew they held all the cards and didn't need to prove it. Right, Vreshka said, straightening his uniform. Let's not keep them waiting any longer. And someone get me everything we have on human diplomatic protocols. I have a feeling we're going to need to be very, very careful about how we handle this. As they left the council chamber, the hologram continued to loop, showing Riley Voss sitting on that rock looking like any tired soldier after a battle. Small, vulnerable human, and absolutely terrifying. Conference room 7 smelled like coffee. Strong, bitter earth coffee that made Vreshka's sensitive nostrils twitch as he entered. 3 humans sat around the polished table, each one relaxed in a way that somehow seemed more threatening than any aggressive posture could be. General Iris Park stood as Vreshka entered. She was shorter than Riley, older, with silver streaking through her black hair. Her uniform was crisp, decorated with medals that Vreshka suddenly realized he should probably research. She extended her hand, and after a moment's hesitation he took it. Her grip was firm, not crushing, not aggressive. Just firm. Like she was holding back. Like they all— Commander Vreshka, she said warmly. Thank you for seeing us. This is Colonel James Okonkwo and Dr. Patricia Feng, our xenopsychology specialist. The colonel was built like a cargo hauler, all muscle and sharp eyes. Dr. Feng looked like she'd be more at home in a library, with wire-rimmed glasses and a gentle smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Please, sit, Vreshka said, gesturing to the chairs. I apologize for the delay. No apology necessary, General Park said, settling back into her seat. We understand you needed time to review the footage. Must have been quite shocking. There it was, that polite, almost sympathetic tone. Like she was concerned about his feelings after discovering that everything he thought he knew about humanity was wrong. General, I will be direct. Lieutenant Voss displayed capabilities far beyond what we believed humans possessed. Did she? Burke took a sip of her coffee. From our perspective, Riley performed adequately, given the circumstances. 17 hostiles, no backup, limited resources. She adapted and overcame. Standard training. Vreshka felt his tail twitch involuntarily. Standard training. Your standard training involves hand-to-hand combat against plasma-armed warriors? Colonel Okonkwo chuckled. A deep rumbling sound. Commander, where I grew up in Lagos, we had a saying. If you can survive the market during rush hour, you can survive anything. Riley's from Montana. She grew up punching bears. This wasn't even her first Tuesday. Bears are not. Vreshka stopped himself. You're saying this is normal for humans. Dr. Feng adjusted her glasses, her voice soft and measured. Commander, may I ask you something? What's your planet's gravity? 0.87 standard. And your predators? Your dangerous wildlife? Reshka thought about the sand serpents. The cliff hunters. We have creatures that can be lethal. Yes, but we develop tools, weapons, society to protect ourselves from them. Exactly, Dr. Fang said, nodding. You evolved in a challenging environment, and you adapt through technology and cooperation. Humans did the same thing, but our environment was different. Earth's gravity is 1.0 standard. Our predators included creatures weighing several tons with bite forces that could crush steel. Our weather patterns regularly produced storms that could level cities. Our oceans contained animals larger than your space cruisers. She pulled up a holographic display showing various Earth creatures. A great white shark, a saltwater crocodile, a hippopotamus, which looked deceptively cute until the display showed its bite radius. We didn't just develop tools, she continued. We developed bodies that could survive long enough to use those tools. Bones that can heal from fractures in weeks. Immune systems that fight off thousands of pathogens daily. Adrenal systems that let us temporarily ignore pain, fear, and exhaustion. And most importantly, brains that never ever stop looking for threats. General Parks set down her coffee cup with a gentle clink. Commander, Riley wasn't trying to hide because she's special. She was hiding because she's normal. And she didn't want to make everyone uncomfortable. That's what we do. We adapt. We blend in. We try not to scare our neighbors. But the war records, Rishka insisted. Your casualty rates are impossibly low. Because we train our people properly, Colonel Okonkwo said. And because we remember where we came from. Every human soldier knows that the biggest threat isn't the enemy. It's overconfidence. So we prepare. We practice, and we never assume we're safe. Ambassador Trell, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. What about Lieutenant Voss's future? She violated several academy protocols by concealing her abilities. General Park's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Did she? Let me read you the exact regulation you're referencing. Section 4, Paragraph 7. All cadets must accurately represent their capabilities during evaluation periods. Riley took every test. She completed every exercise. She never lied about her abilities. She just didn't volunteer information that wasn't requested. She pulled out a datapad, scrolling through it. Your advanced weapons test. Riley scored 38%. Passing grade is 40. She missed exactly 2 questions, both of which were subjective. Your combat simulation. She achieved acceptable ratings by completing objectives, even if her methods were unorthodox. She followed every regulation to the letter, but her performance in actual combat. Combat isn't a test, Commander. In combat, you do what's necessary to survive and protect your team. Riley did exactly that. If your regulations penalize soldiers for being effective in life or death situations, then perhaps your regulations need revision. The silence that followed was heavy enough to have its own gravitational field. Dr. Feng cleared her throat. Commander, if I may, I think the real issue here isn't about regulations or protocol. It's about expectations and fear. You're afraid because you realized you didn't understand humans. That's valid. Fear of the unknown is universal. But let me share something with you. She pulled up another file. This one showing footage from a human school. Children, barely waist-high, playing in a yard. They were rough, pushing and pulling each other, falling down and getting back up, laughing the entire time. Human children play fight constantly, Dr. Feng explained. We teach them from an early age to control their strength, to be gentle with those weaker than themselves, to understand the difference between play and real violence. By the time Riley was 5 years old, she'd already learned to pull her punches. By 10, she could calculate exactly how much force to use in any situation. By 20, it was as natural as breathing. She looked directly at Reshka. You're not afraid of what Riley can do, Commander. You're afraid of what she chose not to do. All those times she sparred with cadets who couldn't match her strength. All those tests she deliberately performed poorly on. All those moments when she could have dominated but instead chose to fit in. That restraint. That choice. That's what scares you. Because it means every human you've met has been making that same choice, and you never noticed. The commander felt something shift in his understanding. How many other species in the coalition could do what Lieutenant Voss did? Colonel Okonkwo started counting on his fingers. The Vrelians have the strength but not the speed. The Tecteri have the speed but their exoskeletons crack under pressure. The Yisith have both but tire quickly because their metabolism burns too hot. The Kresh are close, actually. But their pack mentality means they panic when separated from their squad. He shrugged. Humans aren't the strongest or fastest or most durable species out there. We're just the most persistent. Persistent, Veshka repeated. We're endurance predators, Commander. General Park said, back on Earth before we had ranged weapons, our ancestors would hunt animals by chasing them. Not sprinting, just walking. Following tracks for days, weeks, if necessary, until the prey literally collapsed from exhaustion. We'd outlast them. We still do that, just with different prey. She stood, walking to the window that overlooked the academy grounds. Below, hundreds of cadets from dozens of species trained together. Rayleigh didn't want to be special. She wanted to be part of something bigger than herself that's also very human. We're individuals, yes, but we're also pack animals. We want to belong, and when we find a pack worth protecting, we'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe. Rashika joined her at the window. McCruven killed her squad mates. Yes, and she made them pay for it. Yes, if this war continues, if more humans lose their packmates, their friends, General Park turned to face him, and for the first time her diplomatic mask slipped. What lay beneath wasn't anger or aggression. It was something colder. Calculation. Assessment. The look of a predator deciding whether you were worth the effort. Commander, let me tell you a story. In Earth's history, there was a nation that made a terrible mistake. They attacked another nation without provocation, destroyed their naval base, killed thousands. They thought it would break their enemy's will to fight. Instead, they woke what one of their own admirals called a sleeping giant. The giant didn't just fight back. It industrialized warfare, turned its entire economy into a war machine, and didn't stop until the threat was completely, utterly eliminated. She turned back to the window. Humans are patient. We're polite. We try very hard to get along with everyone. But we remember every slight, every betrayal, every friend we've lost. And when we decide we've had enough, when we collectively agree that diplomacy has failed, she paused. Well, let's just say you don't want to see what happens when all of humanity stops being polite. The door to the conference room opened and Riley Voss walked in, flanked by 2 Academy security officers. She looked tired, nervous, and very young. When she saw the delegation, her eyes widened. General Park, ma'am, I didn't know you'd be here. Lieutenant, Park said warmly. How are you holding up? Riley shrugged. A gesture Reshka was learning meant discomfort and uncertainty. Been better, ma'am. Pretty sure I'm getting expelled. Not if I have anything to say about it, the general replied. She turned to Vreshka. Commander, I believe you wanted to speak with Lieutenant Voss. Reshka studied the young human. She stood at attention, but her weight was balanced, ready to move. Even now, even exhausted and uncertain, she was ready for a fight. The difference was, now he could see it. All the little signs he'd missed before. The way her eyes constantly tracked movement, the slight tension in her shoulders, the controlled breathing of someone always prepared for action. Lieutenant Voss, he said formally, the Council has reviewed your performance during the Theta 9 engagement. Riley's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Your actions resulted in the elimination of 17 hostile combatants and the successful defense of Coalition strategic assets. Your combat effectiveness rating has been revised from adequate to… He paused, checking his datapad. The file just says, see attached combat footage with a note that reads seriously, just watch it. Despite the tension, Riley's lip twitched in what might have been a smile. However, Reshka continued, your conduct raises questions about your previous performance evaluations. The discrepancy between your tested abilities and your demonstrated capabilities suggests either massive incompetence on the part of Academy staff or deliberate concealment on your part. Sir, I never lied during any evaluation. No, you didn't. You simply performed at minimal acceptable levels rather than maximum capability. Technically within regulations, but hardly in the spirit of honest evaluation. Riley met his eyes. Permission to speak freely, sir. Granted. I joined the academy because I wanted to serve, to be part of something that mattered. But I've spent my whole life being too strong, too fast, too much. Do you know what it's like to never be able to fully participate in anything because you might hurt someone? To always have to hold back, to calculate every movement, every interaction. I came here hoping I could finally be normal. That among all these different species, I could just be another soldier. She took a breath. I wasn't trying to deceive anyone. I was trying to fit in, but at Theta 9 when my squad died I realized something. Fitting in doesn't save lives. Being normal doesn't bring people home. So I stopped holding back, just for a little while, and I did what I was trained to do. What every human is trained to do, I adapted. I overcame and I survived. The room was quiet. Then Dr. Feng spoke up. Commander, if I may. What Lieutenant Voss describes is a common phenomenon among humans in mixed species environments. We call it cultural code switching. The ability to adjust behavior to match social expectations. It's not deception, it's adaptation, and it's something humans do automatically, without thinking. Colonel Okonkwo nodded. Every human in this academy is probably doing the same thing to some degree. Not because they want to deceive, but because they want to belong. That's the human paradox, Commander. We're incredibly capable individuals who desperately want to be part of a group. Reshka looked at Riley, really looked at her, saw past the uniform and the blood and the frightening efficiency she'd displayed on that battlefield. Saw a young woman who just wanted to fit in, who'd chosen to hide her light so others wouldn't feel overshadowed. Lieutenant Voss, he said finally, you are not being expelled. Riley's shoulders sagged with relief. However, your training regimen is being revised. From now on, you'll be working with specialized instructors who can properly evaluate your capabilities. No more holding back. No more minimizing. If humanity is going to be part of this coalition, we need to understand what you're capable of. All of you, he looked at General Park. With your permission, of course. Park smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. Permission granted, Commander. On one condition, which is, you stop treating humans like fragile children who stumbled into space by accident. We're here because we earned it. We've got the scars to prove it, and we're not going anywhere. She extended her hand again. This time, when Vrechka shook it, he noticed what he'd missed before. The calluses, the old scars, the strength held carefully in check. Agreed, he said. As the delegation filed out, Riley lingered behind. Sir? Commander Vrechka? Yes, Lieutenant. Those 17 Krovan, at Theta 9. They weren't elite warriors. They were scared kids conscripted into a war they didn't understand. I could see it in their eyes before. She stopped, swallowing hard. Before I killed them, I need you to know I didn't enjoy it. I'm not some kind of monster who likes violence. Vrechka felt his perception shift again. Then why did you smile? In the footage, you were smiling. Because I was terrified, sir. Humans smile when we're scared sometimes. It's a stress response. My hands were shaking the whole time. I just hid it well. She looked down at those hands. I'm good at hiding things. Not anymore, Lieutenant. From now on I want you to stop hiding. Can you do that? Riley thought about it, then nodded slowly. I can try, sir. Fair warning though, when humans stop hiding who we really are, things tend to get interesting. I'm beginning to understand that. After she left, Vrechka stood alone in the conference room, looking out at the academy grounds. Somewhere down there, 2,347 humans were training, learning, preparing for war. And every single one of them was probably holding back just like Riley had been. The thought should have terrified him. Maybe it did. But it also filled him with something else. Hope. Because if this was what humanity could do while holding back, while trying to be polite and fit in, then the Krovan offensive didn't stand a chance. Neither did any other threat to the coalition. Ambassador Trell entered quietly. The Council wants a full report, Commander. Tell them the truth. Tell them that we've been underestimating our human allies, and that stops today. Tell them that Lieutenant Riley Voss is not an anomaly or a freak. She's just human, and that's more than enough. He pulled up the battlefield footage one last time, watching Riley dispatch those 17 warriors with practiced efficiency. But now he noticed other things. The way she checked their bodies after, making sure they were dead quickly, not suffering. The moment she sat down and her composure cracked, just for a second, showing the grief underneath. The quiet promise she made to her fallen squadmates. "Trell," he said, "get me files on all the human cadets. Real files, not the ones where they're holding back. I want to know what we're really working with." "Yes, sir." "And the war? What do we tell the frontline commanders?" Vrishka smiled, his scales shifting to a confident green. "Tell them reinforcements are coming. Tell them the humans are done being polite. And tell them to get out of the way, because when humanity decides to stop hiding, the universe had better be ready." On the academy grounds below, Riley Voss jogged past, her ponytail bouncing, her face showing the exertion that everyone expected to see. But Vrishka knew better now. He could see the control in her movements, the calculated effort, the human habit of always keeping something in reserve. She waved at a group of Vrelian cadets, who waved back enthusiastically. To them she was just Riley, their slightly awkward human friend who told terrible jokes and always shared her snacks. They had no idea they were waving at a walking natural disaster who could probably take apart their entire squad without breaking a sweat. And that, Vreshka realized, was the most human thing of all. The ability to be a monster and choose, every single day, to be a friend instead. "One more thing," he said to Trell. "Send a message to all coalition commanders. New protocol. If you see humans on the battlefield, don't worry about protecting them. Worry about staying out of their way, and whatever you do, don't make them angry." "Sir? That sounds almost like a joke." Vreshka thought about Riley's smile, about the 17 bodies she'd left in that crater, about the promise she'd made to her dead friends. "Trust me, Trell. It's not a joke, it's a warning. For everyone's sake, let's hope the enemy listens." The hologram flickered off. The conference room lights dimmed. And somewhere in the universe, the word was spreading. Humanity wasn't weak. Humanity wasn't lucky. Humanity was just patient, and their patience was running out.